is full screen over here? Present, ये रहा 100% full screen है. समझ रहे हो ना? इसको करके इसमें आना, इसको 100% full screen है. ठीक है. Yes, sir.
टेक्निकली करो.
हाँ सर, टेक्निकल वाला चाहिए ना. सर अभी मैं आपको मिलाता हूँ.
नहीं मैं बोला हूँ ये जो पब्लिक है ये तो
सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस चलाते हैं साइबर सिक्योरिटी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ कर्नाटका IIC में थे. गांधी सेंटर डायरेक्ट है. अनाउंसमेंट तो कर रहे हैं. बहुत अच्छा फंक्शन है. सब लोग पहले से थोड़ा हो रहा था तो आप यहाँ पे बोलेंगे तो लोग ऐसे चुपचाप बैठे उनसे क्वेश्चन वगैरह मत पूछना. कोई जवाब नहीं देगा. लंच के बाद का सेशन मिल रहा है उसमें भी साइकिल से टेक्निकल नहीं सर सबसे सीनियर आप NIELIT भी है सर. सर जैसे साइबर सिक्योरिटी का सेशन तो इसमें तो आपको नहीं भाग सकते.
मेरा भी कुछ है क्या
सर हमने आपको मैंने क्योंकि नहीं शेड्यूल तो मैंने बनाया ना. एड्रेस फ्रॉम यू ये स्टार्टअप आने पे आपको अनुभव को फोन करता हूँ. आई जस्ट चेक. टाइम लग रहेगा. बोलिए सर. लोग भी टाइम धीरे धीरे आके बैठते रहेंगे बट लंबा सेशन ही चलना है. मतलब स्टार्ट कर देते हैं. हाँ स्लोली दिखाना स्टार्ट कर देंगे. अभी आए सर वापस. हाँ अनुभव जयंता सर यहाँ पे हमारे साथ. जयंता सर का वहाँ पे एड्रेस है ना 5 मिनट का. हाँ ठीक है. तो वहाँ ठीक है. ओके ठीक है. ठीक है ओके. सर वो बुला तो रहे हैं आपको वहाँ पे बट आप गए तो सोच रहे हैं.
नहीं वो भी सोच रहा हूँ पब्लिक नहीं है तो पता है मैं 500 लेके आऊँगा.
सर फिर एक काम करते हैं यहाँ पे स्टार्ट करा के वहाँ पे बीच में एड्रेस कर देना. यहाँ पे स्टार्ट करवा देना सेशन. मतलब जस्ट स्टार्टिंग में एक बार स्टार्ट करोगे तो अच्छा लगेगा. इधर तो नहीं है सर मतलब बट मैंने वही बोला आपको एड्रेस करना है. यहाँ पे भी एड्रेस कर दो 5 मिनट्स के. अच्छा हाँ वो स्टार्टअप वाले उस तरफ स्टार्टअप
तो वो किधर है
सर वहाँ पे इंटीग्रेशन सेंटर है. वहाँ रूम नंबर 3 है. सर ये वापस यहीं पे आ जाना सर एड्रेस. बाकी सबको उसमें साथ साथ लाएगा था. सर जस्ट कमिंग बैक 5 मिनट. थोड़ा सा एड्रेस देखिए. माइक चेक एवरीथिंग चेक. We'll be going first, right? Take your mic. I'll just make an announcement. We'll start with the session. ठीक है. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us after the lunch. So we'll now start with the session track on cybersecurity for the age of AI. Getting people to be coming on digital platforms, digital inclusion, is not complete without teaching them the safety aspects of it. all of us right now will start using AI applications, be it our email, be it our social media, be it our shopping, food, or any other ways. Scammers are becoming more smart than all of us and scamming not just consumers, governments, institutions, organizations. So while we are celebrating the Innovation Week, Tech Age in Digital Transformation, we want to also highlight the importance of being safe. The Center for Kohima is also a center of excellence for cyber forensics. And we are taking a lot of big initiatives and coming out with our own R&D applications. So we have today some experts with us who have worked across large institutions like the Center of Excellence for Cybersecurity of Government of Karnataka based at IISc, where they were training senior government officials, bureaucrats, different industry people, colleges, faculty development programs around cybersecurity. We'll have this session in two parts. Part one is going to be more about our personal usage. How do I use my phone? How do I transfer data? How do I use it for personal life? Booking tickets, looking at social media. And part two, we will actually give some gist to the government people. How do you use it in your workplace? How do you do file transfer or other hygiene, and a little bit of technical understanding of how cybersecurity takes place. So for the part one, we have Shikha Pathak. She has worked for CISEC, which is the Center of Excellence for Cybersecurity. Before that, she was working with Reserve Bank of India's IT subsidiary. And her last stint was with London Stock Exchange Group. So she's a tech and policy enthusiast. I'll hand it over to Shikha. Shikha, it's the session after lunch. Audience is completely wide awake and eagerly wanting to learn about cybersecurity. Over to you now.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you had a good lunch and are all energized. Thanks for the introduction, Abhishek. So yeah, let's get started. So let's start with the word cybersecurity itself. What comes to your mind? What do you imagine, right? Maybe the IT department, right? Maybe an engineer working somewhere ensuring that you're safe and secure. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. You see, in today's interconnected world, we are connected with technology 24/7. All of us, everyone sitting here. Whether it's on your mobile phones, whether you're doing a digital transaction, or you are maybe SMSing someone on WhatsApp, whether you are on a social media platform, right? You are digitally connected, which means that the lines between professional and personal security are kind of blurring. And that is why we decided to divide this session into two parts, wherein in the first part, I will be talking about cybersecurity in the personal environment, and then my colleague and mentor Karthik will be talking about cybersecurity in, say, your official and professional environments, right? So let's begin. So why do we believe that cybersecurity begins at home? We have all been through the pandemic, right? Most of us were working at home, which also meant that the lines between personal and professional devices were blurring. A lot of times data was being shared from your professional device maybe to your personal device and vice versa. Apart from that, working from home also means that you might not have that kind of stringent regulations that the professional environment has or the professional devices have. Hence, we talk about cybersecurity beginning at home and not ending at work necessarily. So on that context, my agenda here is going to be talking about a lot of cyber threats which you might have read in the media reports, you might have even come across, and de-jargonizing them for you in the context as to why you need to be aware about these threats, right? You might have heard about phishing, maybe malware, words like ransomware. You might have heard about online scams and frauds affecting people, and maybe even identity theft online. So the idea here today is to de-jargonize all these technological terms and make you understand why you need to be aware, what you can do to be protecting yourself personally on your personal devices. Let's start with what is phishing? So basically, phishing is a type of an online scam where the attackers are trying to get your sensitive personal information. And how does it usually work? How it works is, maybe it can work via video, where a fake video is shared with you, or voice phishing, or maybe smishing, where an SMS is sent, which seems to be legitimate. They're asking for your personal data and information, but it's a fake message, right? Here's a case study. If you can look at the message, you would see that the number here is unknown, and it says HDFC customer, your HDFC net banking will be suspended today. Please update your PAN card now. Visit below the link, and then a link is shared. Now, for any senior citizen, this is a matter of great panic, right? So what would be the first thing they would do? They'd probably go and click the link there. Unfortunately, when such things happen, and see, the number is not verified. This text message itself is not even grammatically correct. However, when this link is clicked on, it is going to download a malware or a virus into the system. So what can you do? If you receive such a message, obviously you will be panicked. You will think that, oh, what if my account actually gets suspended? The best way to tackle such issues is to actually go to the HDFC website, to actually log in with your credentials and see if you have received any such notification which you need to be worried about, right? So this is one of the case study I wanted to cover with you. There is also a cheat sheet with which you can identify phishing. Now, first of all, did you expect it? In the sense that were you expecting that maybe, the limit to your HDFC bank was going to expire? Or second, are there any grammatical or spelling mistakes in the message which you have received? You need to observe the email as well as the number that has shared this message with you very carefully. And if it's unidentified, it's best to basically check on official websites. Do not trust URL text. Do not make sure not to click on any links which are shared in such messages. Do not go by merely the look and feel of such text messages. And more than that, usually they would come with an attachments we should not be downloading and checking. Another thing that most of the cyber frauds and cyber crimes work on, one is panic, and the second is urgency. To get something done within a couple of hours. Your account is going to be suspended in the next 1 hour or in the next 1 day. So be very, very careful that these are red flags. Whenever there is a sense of panic, fear, or urgency being created in a message, that should make you very cautious about the next steps that you're going to take. Now let's talk about whaling. It's also basically a type of phishing attack, but the only difference is here you're basically targeting a high worth, a high profile target. So this could be CXOs or maybe CFOs of an organization, right? And what happens is you target these people and you get money transferred by masquerading as a senior person in that organization. So that is the difference between phishing and whaling. Now, let me come to something that is more relevant, and that is socially engineered attacks. Now, in the earlier attacks, we were talking about how they're creating panic and how they're creating a sense of urgency. In these attacks, actually, the cyber criminals they're taking their sweet time. What they are doing is they're selecting the victim. They're researching the victim for a long period of time. They're developing trust with the particular victim and then exploiting that trust. We will now be covering all the examples of such attacks that you can be very wary about. For example, how many of you have heard about the FedEx parcel scam? Any of you here? Yeah. So the FedEx parcel scam was in news in the last couple of months, wherein a Bangalore journalist lost close to 1.2 crores in a courier scam. Usually what happens is they would receive, say, a call from a fraudster posing as a FedEx courier, and maybe even worse from the Narcotics Control Bureau or the CIB, saying that they have, CBI, saying that they have possessed a parcel which has some illegal items. And trust me, these individuals are people who might be government officials who are being targeted, retired Air Force pilots, lawyers who fall for drugs and parcel scam, right? And why are they falling for it? The fear of judgment, right, of getting caught. Even if you know you've not done something, when a government official, somebody posing as a government official calls you and says, hey, we have caught your parcel, and if you don't do what is needed, then we are going to make this public, then they act out of that fear, and that is what they are tapping into. How many of you have heard about the fake loan scams? So this is actually a very heart-wrenching story wherein a family of 4 committed suicide. And they actually took this selfie right before they did that. And I was discussing with my colleague Karthik how they made the kids in the selfie pose as well. And you can see the woman's face, she almost has tears in her eyes. Now what was happening here was that this man was constantly being harassed in the name of a loan company which was trying to financially extort money from him. And that is one sad case. There are many such multiple cases where the Enforcement Directorate it arrested key players in a 700+ crores fake Chinese loan app scam. And they were not just extorting money. They were actually also blackmailing them, saying that they have access to their private photos and videos. And if they don't share the money with them, they are going to send it to all their contacts in their phones. So this is how bad it had got. Google had to delete close to some 2,200 fake loan apps. And not just that, Reserve Bank of India had to come up with a new set of regulations where now only regulated entities can have lending schemes available, right? So now the policy around lending has been tightened further because of these scams that were happening. Similarly, there is this digital arrest scam in which cyber criminals, again, they would pose as law enforcement officials, police officials, and they were basically threatening people saying that, hey, if you do not, we have found this particular article, or this is the reason why you're facing a digital arrest, and in case you don't pay the required money, you will be facing further consequences from the law. And the KYC scam, we think that the biometrics that we share for our Aadhaar card, or the biometrics we are sharing for, say, DigiLocker or DigiYatra app are safe. Unfortunately, they are also being exploited in case they do get leaked. There are many such scamsters who are posing as agents who are working, say, with DRDO and other such practices and saying, hey, I have access to your data and this is what I can do with it, and such blackmailing is happening. There are other such fake customer service numbers which are being exploited, wherein fraudsters who look popular, they would put up their phone numbers, say, on Google, or create faces on Facebook or Twitter. And when you call up these numbers, you search them up on Google, you end up calling these scamsters and getting in touch. And then they would want to have your OTPs or any of the personal information that can be further exploited. So what are the tips basically in this case? Right? You go on Google and you search for a particular service, and this is the number that appears. How do you know if this number is actually verifiable? First thing is to go to verified websites. Don't just go on what is ranked higher in the Google search order. Second, if in social media, look for how old that profile is. Say you're searching someone on Facebook, right? And you're searching a particular organization on Instagram. Say how old the profile is, how many reviews there are, what are the customers' feedback. That is one way of knowing if it is authentic and credible or not, right? And the third and most important thing is always disconnect. Nobody from the authority would ever ask you to share an OTP, right? So the moment they ask you for your sensitive personal information is the moment you need to disconnect. If you're asking for OTPs or installing apps is the time when you need to disconnect. There are also matrimonial and romance scams, unfortunately, where fake profiles are created on matrimonial and dating websites, where trust is built over a period of time. The scamsters here are in no hurry in any case, right? And they provide excuses then for emergency or for taking money. So this could be in the way that, hey, I've sent you a gift, but unfortunately it's stuck at customs. So I need you to pay me this amount, and once you pay me this amount, I'll return it back. And a lot of people fall prey to that as well. There are also emergency hospitalization is another excuse that they give, and because of which a lot of girls, they fall prey to such kind of scams as well. So how do you recognize the red flags in this case? That's easy. First of all, they're always not willing to show their face. They're reluctant to come online, reluctant to be on a video chat, reluctant to meet in person, right? And second, asking for a money transfer is a big red flag, right? If you're on a matrimonial dating website and you're being asked for a money transfer, that in itself should be the time when you disconnect. Third, they may not have a social profile. They may not have a lot of friends on social media. If you go and check their social profile, it might be just newly created profile. And fourth, hesitate to share any family, any work-related details with you. Where do they work, right? Where is their family based out of? That could be another red flag. The profile looks too good to be true, too early confessing affection or love. That could be another red flag. And of course, another thing that you would see in such cases, they would ask you to delete your profile immediately, right? Or come up with a story to gain sympathy and ask you for financial favors. There is also honey trapping, and I wanted to cover this case because given the recent India-Pakistan war, we recently also, there was another influencer that was in news recently. So honey trapping is another case. Nishant Agarwal, he worked with the technical research section of Missile Center for 4 years. And he was arrested for spying, chatting on Facebook with Pakistan IDs. Now what happens in this case is most of these spies are masquerading as women. And once they get close to the victim and they basically ask them about details, the problem here is when the officers, they share their location or they share their designation or they share the scope of their work, and slowly as they get, say, closer or more friendly with this person, they are then maybe blackmailed in one way or the other to basically release confidential information. So honey trapping is another case. Then we have ransomware. You would have heard about ransomware. Now, let me explain it in simple terms. Imagine in your house, somebody comes and locks all the doors and all the drawers and takes the key with them, right? That is pretty much the case. The only difference here is this is a digital setup, wherein somebody is going to lock up all your important, encrypt all your files and take the key with them and obviously ask for a financial extortion and blackmail you financially so that you can gain access to them. So what do you do in this case for either your personal or your professional data? Now there is something very interesting that the Computer Emergency Response Team has come up with a tagline which says, ransomware ka hai ek hi ilaj, backup karo data ko aaj. Which basically means that you need to back up your data if you ever want to get out of this situation where your data is being kept at ransom. Also, another thing that can be done is to keep antivirus on your machines always up and running. Be very wary of unexpected emails, especially if it's email from a person you were not expecting, or it's email from a link that includes a link or an attachment that looks kind of suspicious, or email from a name that you do not recognize. Then you'd be very wary of that. Deepfakes. How many of you have heard this word recently? Because it's been in news for a very long time, right? So deepfake is basically AI generated. It could be synthetic videos, images, or audios that imitate real people, right? It's almost like quite indistinguishable from authentic content using any forensic tools. It could be any type. It could be a video deepfake, it could be an audio deepfake, image deepfake, and textual deepfake. And we'll discuss on how it's become a huge issue of late. See, I want to share this video with you. Wait. Let's see if we can.
आज मैं वेश भक्त से क्षमा मांगने आया हूँ। हमने विचार किया था कि पाकिस्तान को 4 हिस्सों में बांट देंगे। हमने सोचा था कि पाकिस्तान को बिखेर देंगे, लेकिन आज हालात बिल्कुल उलट हो गए हैं। पाकिस्तान ने हमें ऐसा करारा जवाब दिया है कि हमारी अपनी ज़मीन पर बगावत के बीज बो दिए हैं।
Did you recognize the person in the video? Yes. So he's our External Affairs Minister. And imagine, when we are having wars in these times, these are not just conventional warfares. This is basically a misinformation war. Now, most of the people, most of the Indians would recognize that that's not his dialect. We can also see that he's lip syncing. We can also see that this is probably an AI-generated video, right? Unfortunately, what is the reason, what is the objective behind creating such videos is to spread misinformation in maybe the country where it was created, right? For them, the narrative that the enemy country has given up works. So this kind of misinformation is spread by way of deepfakes. Frauds happen where there is mimicking of CEOs and CXOs and CFOs, harassment. Things like revenge porn, celebrity fakes are happening, and espionage, spying. Target officials or defense professionals are being targeted for honey traps and leaks. And that's another reason why we need to understand deepfakes. So here are a few examples that I wanted to cover wherein fraudsters used AI to mimic the CEO's voice in a cybercrime case. Voice cloning is being used. Even fake videos are being created, so much so that the Tamil Nadu cybercrime police had to issue an advisory on new scam involving AI voice cloning. So how do you stay safe in understanding deep fakes? First of all, verify before sharing, check for inconsistencies, use reverse image search, and then report suspicious content and promote awareness and literacy. The misinformation warfare is here to stay, and the more aware we are, the better it would be. Right? Fake news sharing, again, is something that has been happening a lot of late. I remember there was a doctored Al Jazeera article which was floating around during the recent India-Pakistan war. So we have really come to that extent when it comes to fake news and misinformation. Online privacy, whether you are on Facebook, be very careful about sharing your personal identifiable information like your date of birth, your living address, your phone number, email address, right? Vacation plans. Do not share it on sites like Facebook and Instagram and whichever you're using, right? And reasons why, because there is decreased security, there is decreased privacy, you're not really friends with everybody who's friends with you, right? And they might use it in the wrong way. The mobile addiction, all of us are addicted to a mobile 24/7. Even the kids these days, they are continuously on their mobile phones. And it does affect their mental health, their physical health. And it also impairs their day-to-day social, real-world interactions. And that is why it's extremely important to be aware of things like cyberbullying that kids these days are facing. And this could be maybe hurtful messages, rumors, harassment, blackmailing, threats. And that is why, as parents, we need to be extremely keeping an open line of communication. We need to ensure that the tech solutions are in place. A lot of platforms like YouTube have age locking, restrictions of what content can be available to kids, and we need to be very informed about all of those things. Then let me come to some cyber hygiene tips. I think we have covered a lot of threat landscape. It's time we covered the cyber hygiene tips that you can take home today from the session with you. The first of all is multi-factor authentication, which is basically a mix of three things, wherein you have something you know, that is a knowledge question. You have a one-time password, an OTP that we usually call, or maybe there is a biometric login, right? Most of us use maybe a pattern for our phone, or maybe a biometric finger or a facial recognition on our devices. It's always good to have a mix of two at least, to have a multi-factor authentication in place. You can enable it for your Gmail by going to your security settings. You can enable it for your Facebook by going to security and login settings. You can enable it even for your WhatsApp. And apart from all that, ensure that you're regularly backing up your stuff. Not only will it basically protect you from ransomware, it will also protect you in case your device gets stolen, in case your device gets damaged, there is loss, and data gets corrupted. Be very careful about installing apps. Make sure that you're installing apps only from trusted sources. Install them from the original organization. And like I said, always look for reviews. Always look for ratings before you basically download an app. User best practices that you can be careful about is downloading any files, unknown files from the internet, installing programs from trusted sources, avoiding unknown USB devices. The curious cat does not work here. If you're finding a device lying, a USB drive lying somewhere and you're wanting to check it on your computer, bad idea. Keep all your software updated. Lock your system when not in use. Data mobility. Now, why I wanted to talk about this topic is because, like I said, the lines between your personal and professional devices are kind of blurring. And you are moving data from one device to the other, right? And sometimes you're using a public Wi-Fi where you don't have a VPN. Sometimes you are disabling auto backups. This can basically reduce the traceability of such data. When you use your personal devices for official work, it increases the exposure to malware and unapproved apps. When you are sending a file via cloud or other accounts, there will be no audit trail, there will be no encryption. And if you're using, say, public Wi-Fi or mobile hotspots, it will be easier for attackers to maybe perform a man-in-the-middle kind of an attack. Even when you're using USB drivers across devices, malwares can be transferred very easily. So these are things that one needs to be aware of. Best practices in this case, use encrypted personal USBs. Avoid transferring sensitive, confidential files over public Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi means that is easily available, say, at hotel rooms, airport check-ins, right? And then use VPN if the public Wi-Fi is unavoidable. If you have to use it, use a VPN. And turn off your Bluetooth when you're not using it. If the Bluetooth is left unexposed, that itself can create a problem. How do you report cyber crisis? Well, you can report it on the platform itself, on Twitter, on Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, Discord, they have their own platform reporting. But apart from that, you can also report it to government agencies. There is a cybercrime.gov.in. You can report it. If there is a case related to women and children, then you can report it to the Ministry of Women and Child Development. And then there is a national helpline, that is 1930. And there is something very interesting I want to tell you about this. So in the 1930, there is something called a golden hour, okay, which basically means if you ever unfortunate enough to get scammed, don't sit down to mull over it. Don't sit down thinking, okay, I will figure it out. Don't even go to the bank first. The first thing that you need to do in this case is to call 1930. The golden hour is 1 to 2 hours after such a scam has taken place, which basically means there is a short time period, a short window in which maybe the accounts can be frozen and maybe there is a slim chance that you can get your money back. Now what happens usually in these cases is when the scamsters, they steal your money, they're not going to transfer it to one account. They're going to transfer it to maybe 5 or 6 other accounts which are known as mule accounts. And they may not be even in the same state. One might be in state A, then B, then C, then D, right? And once the money gets fragmented, it almost becomes impossible to get it back. So when the action has to happen, it has to happen within 1 to 2 hours of such a cyber fraud happening. And that is called the golden hour. The rise of AI and cybersecurity is like a double-edged sword. While on one side, we are using AI in threat detect and response. I think a lot of speakers today discussed about that. We discussed about all the innovation that can happen in AI, how law enforcement can be helped with AI. But on the other hand, even the cyber criminals, they are becoming extremely super smart. They are using AI for smarter, faster, more scalable cyber attacks, right? So that means that there is recently actually a report by the Data Security Council of India saying that in 2025, phishing campaigns utilizing deepfake technology and even personalized attack vendors are going to be more harder to detect, hereafter. So it's a double-edged sword wherein if there are ways in which we can do innovation, there is also a threat looming overhead. The use of AI in crime detection and mitigation is fastly scaling. Delhi police purchased recently 32 AI-equipped surveillance drones. Assam is mulling over first AI lab, right? Mohali is integrating AI. Uttar Pradesh police has come up with something called a crime GPT, right? Even Maharashtra has a very interesting program you might want to read about called Marvel, wherein basically using analytics and data for crime detection. But is AI the only solution? Not necessarily. If there is one thing I want to take back from my session here today is that definitely AI can help us. Definitely AI can help us in maybe finding more innovative ways for predictive policing, forensics, voice and document analysis, cybercrime detection. But the most important thing in cybersecurity is awareness. We are only as strong as our weakest link. Therefore, it is important to be cyber aware, to be cyber vigilant. So this was the part 1 of the session wherein I covered about cybersecurity in personal environment. And we'll have a break after this, I think for 10 minutes, since this is a heavy topic. I hope you still found it relatable. We will, in the next session, be talking about cybersecurity in your work and official environment. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Shikha. So we will not be having a 10 minutes break. We'll not be going out also. We're just having a 2 minutes break where we can just assemble all the thoughts or something. But since we are lacking time right now, we'll not be able to go much ahead. So I was talking to my friend, telling him that there's a cybersecurity session happening out here. And he actually had a cyber incident. His ATM got hacked. I told him about this 1 hour pro tip also. But he said that the thief is spending less money than his wife. So he's not reporting that over there. So we need to come out with some kind of, he's more afraid of his wife hacking his phone than the thief out there. So we need to have some kind of cyber security for men. We have to think about that later. But I think so Karthik will be taking the next session. Karthik has been the director of Center of Excellence for Cyber Security at IISc, one of the renowned COEs for cyber security. So I would urge everyone to please look forward with all the excitement to Karthik coming up and talking out here. Thank you. So we'll start in 1 or 2 minutes.
Right. So, working? Yeah. Great. We'll probably get started in the interest of time. Shika very beautifully covered the various aspects of cyber risk and cyber hygiene practices we need to follow in our day-to-day lives, in our personal usage. I'll talk more at what are some of the aspects you need to keep in mind when you use a computer, in your work environment. So I will start with a story. So there's an image. There are two images here. There are two pictures here. Can you see what is the connect between these two pictures? What is the image at the top trying to say? Bigger fish eating the smaller fish, right? And the image at the bottom, it's a depiction of a scene from Mahabharata, right? So, in Mahabharata, this is, Shanti Parva, Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows, and Pandavas are, doing a AMA, ask me anything kind of session with him. They ask him a lot of questions around statecraft, morality, ethics, etc. So here, the reason I bring in when talking about cyber security is, Bhishma says that at the advent of society lived in this state called Matsya Nyaya, which is what the picture at the top is trying to depict, right? A big fish eating the small fish. Matsya Nyaya means, the powerful can have their way over the weak, right? There is not much recourse to law. You cannot go to police and then lodge a complaint because law enforcement is weak. The reason this story, is important in the cyber security context is in the cyberspace, we still live in this state of Matsya Nyaya, right? It's very easy to commit a crime, a cyber crime and get away with it, and hence the importance of cyber hygiene practices, right? So, we need to make sure that we follow the right cyber hygiene practices so that we protect ourselves from cyber attacks. So why is it easy to commit cybercrime and get away with it? One is anonymity, right? So we all know that cyberspace, online space, internet provides us, a good level of anonymity. I can create an account, as if I'm somebody else. I can carry out my activities. Second is the crumbling barriers for carrying out a cybercrime, right? See, 10 years back, 15 years back, if I had to commit a cybercrime, a cyber attack, I had to be a geek. I had to have good amount of technology knowledge to carry out a cybercrime. Today, you have, something called cybercrime as a service, right? I just have to pay someone some money and then the person will commit a cybercrime on my behalf, right? So even ransomware today is run in a franchisee model as a service. And then, of course, with the advent of AI, the ease with which a cybercrime can be carried out is becoming really low. So it's becoming much easier to carry out cybercrimes. Pointer, thanks. So that's one reason. This is not working. Oh, the dongle is not there. Yeah, that's fine. Another issue is the lack of jurisdiction. So when a cyber attack typically happens, right, the attacker will be in a different country, right? So attacker could be in China. He will try to log into a server which is in, let's say, Bulgaria. From there, he will try to log into another server which is in France. From there, he will try to log into another server which is in US and then carry out the cyber attack. Now, even if our police try to investigate, they will find that the IP from which the attack originated is US. But then after that, for them to carry out any further investigation, they'll be facing a roadblock, right? They will have to reach out to law enforcement in US to figure out from where did the access to the US servers happen, etc. These takes months together. So their ability to carry out investigation is very limited. And then, of course, with the advent of bitcoins, the ease of laundering the proceeds of cybercrime, is become easy now, right? So, no longer you have to say, send me money to this bank account, etc., right? All you have to do is, send me so many bitcoins, and then you'll never be able to find out who is behind that Bitcoin wallet. And who are the people who carry out cyber attacks? It cuts across this whole spectrum. There are people called script kiddies. These are people who don't really have much technology knowledge. They just use, easily available, out-of-box, free tools to carry out cyber attacks. Then there are some people who we call hobby hackers. They carry out cyber attacks because just for the kicks that they get out of it. They're not really, with a criminal intent or money-minded. Just for the, just to get some kicks out of it, they carry out cyber attacks. Then we have hacktivists, people who carry out hacking for the sake of activism. And then insiders, people who are inside in your organization, end up, leaking documents, etc. Then there are well-organized cybercrime syndicates. And then, of course, there are many countries with large cyber armies. So it goes from very, very rudimentary kind of cyber attacks to very sophisticated cyber attacks. Some case studies in India. This happened a few years ago. The Kudankulam nuclear power plant had a cyber attack, and the administrative network of that power plant was breached. Initially, like our standard response, right? The government of India said, oh no, there is no breach because it is an air-gapped network. But later, within 24 hours, the government had to accept that, yes, there was a breach. Of course, they tried to underplay the extent of the breach, but the breach did happen, and it was finally attributed to a North Korean gang who was trying to who was trying to get information on how India is running this particular nuclear reactor. AIMS, this happened 2 or 3 years ago. So AIMS, as you probably know, every top leader of India, every top politician, bureaucrat would go to AIMS for any of their health issues. So all their health record would be in the AIMS database, and that was breached. And although it was it was in the garb of a ransomware attack, we all know that they never wanted ransom. All they wanted was the information that they could get access to. This happened just last year. So there was a ransomware attack on one particular company, which resulted in almost 300 small banks, going offline. Because these 300 banks were leveraging the services of this company for processing the payments. Right? And because this company got attacked, all these banks had operational downtime. Some case studies outside India. Russia attacked the Ukraine power grid some years back, quite successful. Sunburst was a very, very sophisticated cyber attack that happened in 2020. There's a company called Solar Winds, which was attacked, through which they were able to then get access to all these US government departments and many, many companies. If you see, a lot of large companies are also listed here. So it's a supply chain attack, right? Because like tomorrow, let us say you use Windows laptop. If there is a security issue in the Windows laptop, then even you can get compromised, right? So that is how they, compromise all these US government departments. Insider threat. So you might have heard of Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden was an insider in the National Security Agency of US. And then he misused the access that he had to leak out millions of sensitive information of National Security Agency, right? So, this shows how significant insider threats could be. People who are inside our organization can misuse the access, and then they can, leak out sensitive information. A lot of times, the tools that we use to secure ourselves, like your Cisco firewalls, etc., right? They themselves could have security issues. Like this, I just did a search on Cisco, and you see that, there are so many security issues found on Cisco devices itself. And then many times, some countries, have implant backdoors in certain IT softwares. Right, so we'll talk of some best practices. Endpoints are basically your desktops, laptops that you use in your organization. Having antivirus is the most basic precaution that we need to take when it comes to endpoint security. Nowadays, we also have AI-based, more advanced endpoint protection solutions. We call it as next-gen antivirus solutions. So these provide, protection from, they provide better protection from more sophisticated kind of attacks. Disk encryption. Do you know what disk encryption is? Has any of you, have you implemented or configured disk encryption on your desktops, laptops? So what happens is, let's say you have a desktop, right? After some years, say the desktop, is end of life, you try to dispose it. Or let's say you have a laptop, and then, when you're traveling somewhere, you lose the laptop. Now to log into the laptop, you might have put in a password. So, even if somebody gets access to your laptop, the person may not be able to, log in. But if the person, opens the laptop, takes away the hard disk, and connects the hard disk to another system, the person will then be able to get access to all the data in the hard disk, right? So that's where disk encryption comes into play. If you configure disk encryption, and Windows has something called BitLocker, right? It comes built in Windows. So if you configure BitLocker, that kind of solution, then even if the hard disk is taken out from the system, the person will not be able to access because the hard disk data is encrypted. You need the login to actually decrypt, to be able to decrypt the data. Beyond just antivirus and encryption, it's extremely important to apply patches on our desktops. So whenever you see a Windows prompt which says system updates are available, do not delay it, because a patch has been released because a security issue has been found out, right? Now if you do not patch it, now the whole world knows that a security issue has been found in this particular version of Windows. So people will try to actively exploit it. So unless you patch it, it's like leaving your doors open for the cyber attackers. And then it's a good practice to always disable USB access, because USB is very, very commonly used for virus attacks. USB can also be used to leak out data. So it's extremely important to disable USB access by default. If there is a specific need for a person to access USB, it can be enabled for a small period of time, right? 1 hour, 2 hours, you can enable USB, and then you can disable it again. And then it's also a good idea to disable admin access to your desktops, laptops, right? Because whenever there's a virus attack, the virus will try to the virus will basically have the same access that you have, right? So if you have admin access, the virus also will get admin access. Whereas if you do not have admin access, the virus will not be able to do much damage to your system. Similarly, like Shikha said, it's extremely important to take backups. Extremely important to not use non-official email IDs for your official work, right? So I hope all of you are using a .go.in domain for all your emails, etc. I have seen many places people using Gmail IDs for sending out emails as part of their official jobs. That's not a good idea, because tomorrow somebody can easily masquerade, spoof your email ID, and then start sending out emails on your behalf. It's also important to not use your official email ID for non-official purposes, right? So for example, you are booking a ticket on IRCTC, or you are booking, you are buying something online. It's not a good idea to use your official email ID for those accounts. Defense in depth is something we always emphasize on in cybersecurity. There is no single solution for securing all our IT systems. So it's extremely important that we take a defense in depth posture. Across your technology stack, it's important to have multiple security controls to protect ourselves. I'll skip through this, in the interest of time. Whenever we do any software development, product development, application development, it's important to take care of cyber security right from the beginning, right? Security should not be just, I will do a VAPT after completing the development, right? So right from, the RFP stage to our architecture, design, coding, all those stages, various security activities need to be embedded so that the product that we finally develop is, developed in a secure manner. Privacy is something extremely important. Privacy needs to be balanced with the need for open government data. Government has a lot of emphasis on putting up all the data that we have in the public domain so that it benefits the public at large, but at the same time it's important that, all open data initiatives are seen from the angle of privacy, and we don't end up compromising the privacy of individuals. All right, so talking of future trends, so this event is about AI, right? So when it comes to the intersection of cybersecurity and AI, there is AI for cybersecurity, and then there is cybersecurity for AI, right? So AI for cybersecurity is how can we use AI to make it easy for us to secure ourselves, right? So like I said earlier, the antivirus solutions today are more smarter than what they were earlier because they use AI. The security monitoring solutions today are a lot more sophisticated because they use AI. Then we also have, cybersecurity for AI. Whenever I deploy a AI system, how do I secure my AI deployments, right? So that's also extremely important to take care of. This is a framework that we use for securing AI systems. I will not go into the details of it, but it starts with the same basic security practices that is applicable to all IT systems, and then you go into what is specific to AI solutions. For example, how do I ensure the data sets that I am using are not poisoned? How do I ensure that my AI solutions don't get into drift over a period of time? How do I ensure that that there is enough logging so that if I want to do any auditing tomorrow, I have enough logs available available to me, etc. And then, of course, quantum computers are slowly coming up. Another maybe a few years, we'll have quantum computers coming up as well. So what quantum computers will do is they will make it very easy to break all the cryptography that we use today, right? So, if you see, all the HTTPS connections that you use for encrypting data, they can be easily broken with quantum computers. So, of course, mathematicians and scientists and computers, computer engineers are coming up with what is called post-quantum cryptography. Cryptography that is, that can be implemented and is safe even with quantum computing, right? So, it is important at some stage in future that we start adopting post-quantum cryptographic techniques and solutions. And Okay, so I started with a story. I will end with a story. So this is a incident that happened about 30 years ago in UK. So this was a time when the Irish Republican Army was quite active, and there was a conference in a place called Brighton, where the then British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was supposed to attend that conference. So what the Irish Republican Army did was, they knew that this conference is happening in a particular hotel in that place. They took a room in that hotel, and then they planted a time bomb in the hotel. This was a few weeks before the conference began, right? And they planted a time bomb such that the timer will go off when the Prime Minister would be staying in the hotel. Now the conference started, the Prime Minister checked into the hotel, was staying in the hotel. Middle of the night, around 1 a.m., the bomb actually went off, right? But fortunately, the bomb was not powerful enough to cause damage to the particular room where the Prime Minister was staying. She escaped by a whisker. But after this incident happened, Irish Republican Army came up with this chilling statement that, today we were unlucky, but remember, we only have to be lucky once. You have to be lucky always. The reason I want to end with this is again true in cyber security as well, right? You might have seen in the news, when Operation Sindoor happened, there were 15 million cyber attacks carried out on Indian government and other public sector IT systems, out of which there were 150 breaches, right? So out of 15 million, 150 ended up succeeding and breaching our IT systems. So like this, the attackers are always on the lookout for cyber attacks. We who are on the defensive side have to be lucky all the time to be able to defend ourselves from these attacks. With that, I will end my talk. Any questions? Anything you wanted to ask on cyber security? Again, it can be on your cyber security at work, cyber security in your personal usage. Shika is here as well, so she can answer. Right, if there's nothing else, then I'll wrap up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karthik, for that enlightening session, and thank you, Shikha. So guys, there is a good news. This is the last session now. So for the last session, we have a terrific speaker. Some call him tall, some call him handsome, some call him marvelous. So can you all please put your hands together and welcome the next speaker onto the dais. Please guys, if you can clap. Please, please, please. Yeah, so I present myself for the last session of the day. So my job is to actually give you an example. All of you are working in the government, right? So many places you're going to listen to these words, AI application, AI is happening, AI is happening. I'm going to show you a live example, how we came out with an application, worked with the government, and worked for elections, where stakes are very high. How does an idea get to an acceptance at government? How does it get integrated with the government? How does it get launched? And how, when you go back today, you can find an idea in your department in a very similar way, which you can talk about and then tell NIELIT or other IT bodies to develop it for you. So, Election Mitra has been featured across all national dailies. The problem statement was very simple. Elections, money, politicians, bureaucrats, citizens, everyone is involved. So elections need its own rules, judgments, acts, regulations. There is so much of documentation. When election will happen, half the government people will start doing government duty on election. They'll become presiding officer, they'll become sector officers, and you will get 1,000-page manual book. You need to know every rule in there. And in 1 month, you have to be an expert on all that. So, across elections, there is around 30,000 pages worth of rules, regulation, acts which govern an election. Every stakeholder is expected to know everything around there. It sounds very easy, but I'm saying this is what the problem solution was. This is the amount of paperwork that you all needed to know how to conduct elections. So, would you want to carry around this much of paperwork, right? If it is a Department of Agriculture, for an example, you have all state-sponsored schemes. You have centrally sponsored schemes. If you collect all of them together, it will be 1 to 2 feet. Similar it was for elections. So we created a solution. If you have all these documents, all these big checkbooks, rules, acts, circulars being released daily, what if we could convert it into all an app and you could use it? You don't need to carry the documents, you don't need to carry the books, you can just chat with it. So that is the Election Commissioner of India, just before 2024 elections, he put out 2 problem statements. Problem statement number 1, people need to learn about elections. Because tomorrow one government department, one person will become one kind of election officer, second one teacher will become some other thing. So all these people need training. How do you use AI for training, right? What do they need to learn about? All the 30,000 pages. Can AI help me learn these 30,000 pages better? AI-based, self-paced learning. Second, all these rules, can I just chat? If I had my friend who knew all the rules, I would send him a WhatsApp. Hey, this file, who's supposed to sign it? Is it this officer, this officer? Chief Minister, just think about it. Chief Minister is the highest citizen in the state after governor, right? Can a Chief Minister enter a voting room with his bodyguards? Can his bodyguard take a gun into the voting room? A good question. Everyone will think yes, but no, it's in the rules stated, they cannot. So there has to be a system which has all the rules, all the laws, everything fit into it, and they can chat or interact with it. So based on this open call by the Chief Election Commissioner, we went and met the Principal Secretary and Chief Electoral Officer of the state of Andhra Pradesh. His thing was very simple, that I just need some system which will answer all my questions quickly. People can chat with it how we chat on WhatsApp. Typos will be there. I am looking for this information in this document. Imagine you have a 2,000-page document of all the schemes for Agriculture Department. All the PDF put together, 2,000 pages. I want to understand for one Mon place district, what will a woman farmer get? I can ask a question in natural English language. It will find all the related schemes, make an answer and give it back. So being the government, you can't just use WhatsApp kind of situations. You need the answers to be accurate. You need, AI hallucinates, right? You ask AI something, OpenAI, ChatGPT, it will start giving you any answer that it comes up with. You need access control. Senior government officials needed that we have access to higher files. Let's say I'm releasing the circulars from the state chief election officer to the district collectors that you need to put this much CAPF for police in this much area. You do this much of checking at this age. This information is not for everyone. So access control mechanisms were put in. Similarly, they wanted mobile and desktop, both accessibility has to be there. So based on their requirements, we first show them that this can be done in just one day. We built something using just ChatGPT. Using ChatGPT, we fed it some PDF and showed them this is how you can chat in English. Sir, if you give us a go-ahead, we will build something on our own, host the data also locally in India, and create our own architecture. ChatGPT, there was one problem with the overall thing, why we couldn't go with ChatGPT. Imagine 30,000 pages. The problem he gave us was, you give me the right answer, but out of 30,000 pages, you tell me from which page you are taking the answer. I'll give you an example. So we had landmark judgments, we had act rules. Sometimes a Supreme Court judgment on where the voting machine has to be kept It is superseding the act or rule by the state. Supreme Court is supreme to everything. So if my answer is saying that your act is wrong and I'm taking a Supreme Court judgment, it should show sources. Where all did you get your answer from? So if I'm using one particular observer handbook, if I'm using a state law, I'm using a judgment, I read these 5 pages out of 30,000 pages. I need to quote the sources, so you know where the answer is coming from. So kind of that is what we did. We showed it to the demo to the CEO. The additional CEO was deputed to work with us. We curated a data set. All of you, if you're working in the agriculture department, I gave you a small thing. If you're working in industries, right, you have MSME schemes, you have different manufacturing schemes, so many documents in English and other languages. Imagine all those documents put together. That is your data set. If you're in any other department, think about all the information in PDFs which is lost, no one can read. You curate all of that together, that is your data set. So we created a data set of 30,000 pages of everything in elections, judgments, acts, rules, laws, even circulars on a daily basis. We were field tested. A deputy CEO was deputed to field collect questions from all the districts of Andhra. And we were live tested by the CEO with a panel of experts across 40 to 50 questions. And we gave 100% accuracy each and every percent of the time. What I'm saying, that if it was, let's say, an agriculture focused questionnaire, I want to understand if I want to grow, let's say, vegetables and only fruits, which all schemes will support me to buy land, which all schemes will give me money to buy machinery, which all schemes can help me with fertilizers. I'm giving you, so you can put 3-4 questions together from all the documents across MSME, from agriculture, it will get the answers. So that is how Election Mitra came to about with all the documents. Stakeholders. So in election, as you might have voted, some of you, you would see that we started with right from the CEO, who is the head of state when model code of conduct is in place. DEOs, your district collectors, become district election officers. You have returning officers. So there were high-level officials, mid-level officials, polling-level officials, security and law enforcement, police people, like I gave that example. Can the chief minister walk into an electronic voting machine booth with his bodyguard? Yes or no? If Prime Minister Modi is going to an election rally, he's the Prime Minister of the country, but he's coming to that for personal visit. So can the state SP go and receive him, or the district SP? Protocol says yes, but if it is for political reason, he cannot go. There is no official. So these are the kind of questions for different officials that we were able to build for. I'll show some examples of what kind of questions were coming out of Election Mitra. And remember, just imagine in your department where you can curate a data set and ask similar questions and get good answers. So question number 1, explain the chain of custody protocols for election material, EVMs, VVPATs, or any additional device from storage to polling station and back. You know, whichever party loses, they only say one thing. Right now, EVM has been compromised, EVM was found in someone's car and everything. So this is a complex question, not a very one-line question. The answer, to ensure the integrity of electoral process, a robust chain of custody is set, essential for that. First, it talks about pre-poll storage. So AI has automatically divided into few parts. First, pre-poll, it tells secure storage. It has to be under CCTV coverage with proper security. Access controls. Warehouse strong room is restricted and only political party candidates who are recognized, have an ID, are given during closing and opening, they are present over there. Logbook maintenance, it tells you. So if you have any kind of SOP that needs to be followed, if you are a new officer who has come to the department, how do you know that all of this has to happen? AI can guide you, AI can tell you what all to be done. So pre-poll, this has to be done. Transportation is very important. It gave sealed vehicles have to be there, GPS tracking on vehicles have to be there, candidate or polling agent, even from political parties, have to escort. These are things that you can't think of yourself. These are the acts and rules according to which you can do. Polling station, so when it is there in polling station, secure storage, access control over there. After the elections have taken place, how do you transport the EVMs back to the strong room? It gave an answer for that. Post-poll storage is there. And you see, after the end of answer, we have where the sources are coming from. So from the 30,000 files, we have given the top 6 files. The AI knows which 6 files are the best. I click on one of them, it shows me the exact paragraph and the page number. So imagine lakhs of pages asking, find me the needle in the haystack. It exactly tells you this part of the answer, this file, this page, this paragraph. So again, going back to the agriculture example, all different central schemes, all different state schemes, women entrepreneurship schemes, MSME schemes, industry schemes, food processing schemes, all put together. I want to understand, I am a youth today, I am from this particular district, what all am I eligible for? You tell me. I want to start all of this in terms of do this. If I want to promote outside India, what are the schemes that I can? It will exactly tell me which part of the document is it taking out from multiple documents. So this is one example. Similarly, you will see how does election authority ensure proper maintenance and calibration of EVMs before polling day to minimize risk and technical malfunctions. I'll not get into the overall answer, but just to give an idea, see, it is given a checklist. Apne aap se. The first level checking, certification, randomization, commissioning. Quality control measures. There are 3 of them, security measures. But come on, sometimes you will be joining some departments as heads, and you will be tasked to know the rules, to get your own department people to know all the rules. So if you start using AI on small internal documentation, you will start seeing that your own departmental efficiency will go high. A new joinee who comes to your department, if they are using AI, they will be much faster in understanding and learning everything about the department. So beyond just question and answer, the election Mitra, the AI, we were able to generate complex scenario. We were able to use it for training. We asked it to create scenarios where some political party people are found with liquor, were found with excess flags, were found at a particular location. What should be the action taken? It generated complex scenarios like this, where people were trained to answer on a correct answer. Apart from this, there were also knowledge management. So knowledge assessment, the police over there use this to go topic by topic and create topic by topic MCQ questions. So 20 questions of this particular topic today. They sent it to all the inspectors, all of them started doing quizzes and gave back the answers. So content generation, not just question and answer, could also be looked at. So my whole idea for the day was, so that if you can, I can talk about 15 different kinds of AI, but if you're in the government, think about the most complex documentation there is, how that documentation, if put together, can create a data set, and if you can go back to your department and connect it to very small, very basic AI, you have to chat it like WhatsApp. You all know how to chat on WhatsApp. You all already have PDFs. So I would really want one takeaway, go back, create an AI application. If you want any kind of help, that NIELIT Kohima will be very happy to work with you. And if you can help identify this in other departments, right? Let's take students for scholarships. There are so many schemes, so many different forms, other things. We can curate data sets in different areas. We have tried a similar thing, similar system. So we are building the knowledge management system for the National Police Academy in Hyderabad. All the future generation of IPS officers would be using a knowledge management system trained on very similar lines. We did a pilot with DRDO in terms of defense application. We curated a data set and we were able to put it for new material, aerospace material discovery. I don't get cyber security. I don't get material aerospace discovery. I did not understand of anything about election laws and everything. My point is that you don't need to be an expert. I've just given you a basic way. If you are able to put together complex PDF which has graph, pictures, numbers, English, you can feed it to an AI and chat with it. That is the easiest application you can take ahead. I hope this session was easy. I hope this was relatable. I hope some of you go back with thoughts. Please, it is not a one-way thing. Please think about something that you guys can do. If you want our help, we would be more than happy to engage through NIELIT Kohima. So I hope this session was sort of telling in some different ways. Thank you, everyone. And this will also be the end of day one. Thank you so much. You're a wonderful audience.